My sweetheart was from Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon. She was misdiagnosed here in the United States of having acute asthma. When she went home to visit her family, she started coughing up blood. They realized that she had lung cancer.
Have you ever said to any law enforcement personnel that he is a danger?
I don't believe so.
I do think he's a danger. He's a dangerous person. That's why I've been laying low and I've tried to stay away from all of it.
I don't know which videos these are. There are a lot of videos in Mr. Dewitte's cases.
Okay, let's not go here then. So videos have been provided to you. Mr. Moore, if you would get near a microphone, please. Have you provided the unedited version of these videos to Mr. Ledan?
Yes, Your Honor, and I sent an email to him a couple weeks ago just asking him to make sure that he would tell me if he thought anything was missing. I had not heard back.
Okay. But the question was, now listen to the question. Have you provided the unedited versions to Mr. Ledan?
Yes. My understanding is that these were all disclosed prior to I had the case. The answer is yes.
So let me see if I can make this any clearer for the third time. Did you provide the unedited versions to Mr. Ledan?
A previous ASA did, I believe, yes.
Okay. That's not terribly comforting when you say, comma, I believe. But getting past that for a moment, did you provide the edited versions to Mr. Ledan?
These right here, no. As far as just taking excerpts, no.
Okay. So those were not provided. So that's a Richardson violation. Do you want to be heard on whether that was willful or inadvertent? Okay, it's 10:30 and we will begin, we'll continue with the hearing, the bond hearing for Mr. Dewitte. And does the state wish to recall the witness who was previously on the stand?
Just probably briefly, Your Honor. I do want to use this Elmo since there's something going on with the courtroom audio.
Okay.
Just to maybe have it set up before we try to get going.
Okay. You know, if I had back all of the time I've spent waiting for the state to get its act together and prove this case, I'd have a lot of time left. Come on up. I wonder just exactly how much longer this is.
Okay, Your Honor, I think I'm ready.
Okay, go. Proceed. What would you like to have happen?
Well, it's not my witness, but it was Miss Jennifer Burton was the defense witness.
Okay.
Your Honor, I want to continue her testimony.
The witness will return to the stand. This is cross. No, she's still under oath.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Burton. Leaving off, I think, where we were last time, we talked a little bit about some different issues. There was jail calls that you made with Mr. Dewitte, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We talked a little bit about the incident on April 7th, I believe it was, where the police were involved and he got arrested, which is why he's in custody today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was it your testimony today that he did not slam a door in your foot?
It's my testimony that was an error on my part. I believed something and it wasn't what actually happened.
Okay. Is that what you told police on scene? Is that he slammed the door in your foot?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So your testimony today is just different from what it was then?
No, it's not different. I also told them that it wasn't that big of a deal, and I may have been mistaken, and I just needed someone to look at my foot, and that was it, and I didn't want to press charges, so.
Okay. Previously, you had testified you're not in fear of Mr. Dewitte. Is that still the case?
Could you slow down just a little bit and restate that question?
Previously, you had testified that you were not afraid of Mr. Dewitte. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But you did acknowledge also during this incident that there have been previous issues of violence with him. Is that correct?
So are you saying on April 7th? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, or any other time prior to that. You've had other issues of violence with Mr. Dewitte. Is that correct?
I believe there was another case, yes, involving violence, right?
Okay. Have you ever gone to? Well, so let me start over. You're not yourself personally afraid of Mr. Dewitte?
No, I'm not.
Do you have any concerns about other people's safety from Mr. Dewitte?
No.
Have you ever expressed concerns to other people that he may be a danger?
No, I never said he was a danger.
Have you ever said to any law enforcement personnel that he is a danger?
I don't believe so.
I do think he's a danger. He's a dangerous person. That's why I've been laying low, and I've tried to stay away from all of it.
Okay. Have you ever gone to the news and expressed to them that you believe he is a danger?
I'm not sure.
If you saw a video of a news report, might that refresh your recollection?
I believe I know what you're talking about, and that was before he and I got back together. Yeah, that was over a year ago. I think it was maybe a year and a half.
Was it after the sex offender case where you reported him for not using a registered email address?
Yes, it was after that.
Okay. And did you express to the news that it was about time that he had gotten arrested?
Sorry, I didn't...
That it was about time that he had gotten arrested?
I don't know if I said arrested. I'm not sure. I know that I said something about time, but I'm not sure what it was.
Maybe was it that it was about time that police were taking action?
I'm not sure. I may have said that.
Did you ever make complaints that you were complaining but police were not taking action?
I'm not sure.
Would hearing your statements refresh your memory?
No.
Okay. If you saw yourself saying those things, you wouldn't remember them.
Can you repeat that question? Or
If you saw yourself saying those things, you would not remember them?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, I just asked if it would refresh your memory, and you said no.
Can you rephrase the question? I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
Well, I asked, did you say it was about time that police took action on Mr. Dewitte? And you said, I'm not sure.
I said I believe so. I believe I said that. I'm not sure.
Okay. And then I asked if you saw a video of yourself saying that, would it refresh your memory? And you said
I believe
no.
what I'm saying is I don't need to see a video. I was there, so.
But no, you're saying you don't remember what you said.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. This is outside the scope of direct. It is impounded.
Overruled.
Is it
you
just that
say it
you
again?
don't want to say it or see it?
I don't understand what you're saying. Can you rephrase the question?
It was just, if you saw a video of yourself saying these things, would it remind you of what you said?
Of course it would remind me.
Okay.
can't hear that. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
We're waiting on this to be queued up. Would it be possible for me to invoke the rule at this time?
The rule's been invoked.
Thank you.
Previously accused of impersonating police officers.
Oh, am I supposed to turn?
Again, one woman says she reached out to deputies about an encounter she had with that same man.
Am I supposed to turn?
Caroline's Ashley Edlund is live outside the courthouse for us
Okay.
tonight. Ashley, you met with that woman to hear her side of the story.
I'll turn.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's not on my screen. Am I supposed to turn my head and look at this?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Right, and she told me that it was her gut instinct that drove her to the sheriff's office to talk about those concerns back in 2018. And with this recent arrest, she said she's glad she did.
This woman, who only wants to be called Jennifer, says she met Jeremy Dewitte online and went on a first date back in 2018. At the time, he told her his name was Jay. He also told her he was a cop.
He told me that he worked for Oviedo Police Department and that he was a security officer and that he worked with Orlando Police Department and Orange County Sheriff's Office.
It was then Jennifer says she felt uneasy.
I just dug a little deeper into who he was and I found out what his real name was, and the first thing that I saw was the FDLE sex offender search results.
How long did you kind of investigate and take before you went to the deputies?
It was the same day. I found out, I think, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I contacted them at 8.
This arrest affidavit shows Dewitte was charged in 2018 for failing to register as a sex offender. Jennifer says at the time, the information she gave them about him posing as a cop fell on deaf ears. Until Dewitte was arrested by Windermere Police in September of 2019 for impersonating a police officer while directing a funeral procession for his company, Metro State Services.
It's about time.
His own body camera video was taken by police.
I don't need to show any more. I just wanted to make sure do you remember now saying that it was about time?
About time what, though? I didn't say anything after
Yeah,
that.
police took action.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, redirect.
I don't have any redirect, Ron. Thank you.
Okay, the witness is excused.
They would call.
Just a moment. Do you wish to call any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, my client.
Okay, could someone assist Mr. DeWitt to the stand?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, sir.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please state your name
Jeremy Charles Dewitte.
and make sure you speak up, Mr. DeWitt. We're here for your bond motion. Can you tell the court whether you currently own the home that you live in?
Yes, currently the home that I have in Osceola County, we just recently purchased 9 months ago, or 10 months ago, I'm sorry.
Do you have any idea whether you have any equity in the home if you needed to borrow against it for the purposes of posting a bond?
I don't think we've made enough payments for equity yet.
Do you have any vehicles that you could either sell or put liens against for the purposes of securing a financial bond?
I could put liens against them for securing financial bonds. I wouldn't want to sell them, being the fact our business continues to operate. Although it's tattered right now, it still does operate.
Okay. What about stocks, bonds, money in bank accounts? Where are you there in terms of financial ability to post a bond?
Sadly, no stocks, no bonds. Not that good. But I do have the bank account for my business, yes.
You had relayed some concerns about the potential of foreclosure because payments aren't being made. Are you in arrears on payments?
No, what happened was when I was arrested, for some reason my debit card was used illegally the same day or the next day that I was in custody, and the bank saw it and flagged it and froze my account. So unfortunately my contractors haven't been paid and my mortgage hasn't been paid for the last 3 months, almost 4 months, because one of the payments that was already initiated had been returned because the account was locked at that point in time.
Okay. If the court was to grant your release, do you have a valid U.S. passport?
No, I do not have the passport anymore. We turned that in quite some time ago when the Department of Homeland Security changed the policies for people, unfortunately, sex offenders. So I had to mail that back.
Okay. How long have you lived in Central Florida between Orange and Osceola counties?
My whole life.
You understand that we've got multiple court dates and court appearances. You're going to have any problem coming to court?
No, sir. I've never missed a court date, even though I've continued to be arrested. I've never missed anything, and I wholeheartedly believe that you will be able to handle our cases, so I have nowhere to go.
Okay. How old is your child?
She's about to turn 1 on July 25th. I'm hoping very much to be home for that.
Okay. And you're still married?
Yes, sir.
And you still reside with your wife at the residence in Kissimmee?
Yes, sir.
Other than that family, what other family ties do you have to Central Florida?
All my family lives in Central Florida. The only family that doesn't live here is my wife's family, but all of my family is here in Central Florida in Tampa.
Okay. The state has raised some commentary or concern about a passport fraud or something that was done. When was that, 20-something years ago?
Yeah, it was in 2000. I was young and dumb and in love. My sweetheart was from Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon. She was misdiagnosed here in the United States of having acute asthma. When she went home to visit her family, she started coughing up blood. They realized that she had lung cancer. So I was dumb, and I was unfortunately a convicted felon, and I believed at that point that I could never get a passport. So my friend let me use his information so I could fly to Beirut, Lebanon, and spend my last few days with her before she passed away. It wasn't until I came home on my own. I was home almost 8-9 months, and he got in trouble for something else, and unfortunately he never shredded the passport that I gave back to him. And it just spiraled from there, and it was my fault. I should have never did that. I didn't know at that time that convicted felons can't have a passport. I was unaware of that at the time, and I was young and dumb. And anyways.
Have you traveled out of the country without the permission of the U.S. government or local government since that time?
No, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You understand that, obviously there's a lot of charges.
Yes, sir.
And if convicted, you could spend the rest of your natural life in prison. You understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it your intention to come to court?
Yes, sir.
In terms of financial bonds, the bondsmen have agreed to go back out on the original bonds. If the judge was to impose a new bond or new bonds, how much do you think you could reasonably afford if you were to have to post new financial bonds?
I honestly, I don't. Right now, my business is in tatters. Being the fact my tow truck company was shut down with false statements, and most of my clients have run for the hills because of all the continuous arrests, my accounts and my payroll to my contractors is more important, and my accounts are very, very, very low, to the point where if it was more expensive, I don't know if I would be able to actually handle it, to be honest.
All right. I'll turn to the witness, Your Honor.
Cross.
Morning, Mr. Dewitte.
Morning, sir.
Just wanted to talk about, you were talking about your assets and the vehicles. Do you own all of the vehicles that were part of Metro State business?
Yes, sir. I own every one of them.
Okay. How many vehicles were there or are there with Metro State?
I believe the last tally on them was 27, is what the FDLE website says, if I remember correctly.
A mixture of like automobiles and motorcycles?
That is correct, yes, sir.
I think at one point you were acquiring ambulances as well. Do you still own those?
Those ambulances were part of the 27. I know that 3 of them are no longer with Metro State, but one of them still is, yes.
Did you acquire all of these vehicles on your own?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't have anybody else help you with acquiring these vehicles?
Never once. Thank God, alhamdulillah, I was able to make sure that I buy vehicles at reasonable prices.
When you bought the vehicles, were they already outfitted with the lights and the sirens, the horn?
No, sir.
No? So you had to expend some money, I guess, to do that as well?
No, sir. Actually, I actually install everything myself. The only thing I don't do is paint the vehicles. All the stickers are printed, and I install them myself, and including all the wiring and all the setups for the vehicles.
Okay, and you purchased all of the equipment for that?
Well, I mean, secondhand, but yes.
Do you still have those vehicles? I'm sorry if you said that before, but I missed it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Unfortunately, right before the day I was arrested, or the day that I was arrested, all the vehicles were vandalized and the tires were cut. But yes, I do.
Okay. I think the only other thing I wanted to talk about, Mr. Ledan had talked about your passport issue, which was an issue. That was back in around, was it 2001?
Well, they charged me, I think it was in 01, but she passed away late 2000, but yes.
Okay. It ended up in a conviction, correct?
Correct.
Subsequent to that, is when you were convicted of the lewd and lascivious battery, is that correct?
In 2005, 4 years later, yes.
Okay. And you did an incarceration followed by probation?
Initially, it was just probation. Unfortunately, I, for some reason, have a tendency to not do probation very well.
But on that particular probation, weren't you violated for falsifying another federal document? And that was the reason why they recommended termination?
No, sir. They arrested me after I was sentenced to the probation. No. When I caught the lewd battery in 05, that violated the federal probation that I was on. Not a new document charge.
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest that it was a new offense, but only to suggest that the violation itself related to falsifying a document so that you could travel.
Right, which originated from the 2000 charge. I didn't falsify another document.
Well, 2005 CF 394 was your case number here in Orange County. That was for the lewd and lascivious.
Correct.
Okay. And there was a affidavit of violation of probation. And that was one where you had just violated the community control then. That was where you had, I think it was within 3 days or so of being on that you Oh, wait, let me back up. I'm sorry. We got a few here. I apologize. 2018 CF 4906. That was your last failure to report case. You were on a probation on that, correct? And that was a 2018 case that pled in 2019, I believe.
I wasn't on probation at that time.
I think you were on community control.
No, sir. No. The failure to register, my wife and I were looking for a surrogate mother, which I didn't put the user name. I registered the email address and I registered everything else that was required to be registered. But for some reason in 2017, unbeknownst to me, and it's my fault, I understand that, the law changed to where you had to put the user name as well, where I didn't know that before.
I think you might be getting your cases mixed up.
Okay.
So in that case, in 2018 CF 4906, I've got an affidavit of violation of probation. And it's from Officer David Klingenberg. Do you remember him at all?
Officer Klingenberg was the one that violated me because when they put me on probation for the username,
correct,
they enhanced it automatically because it was only supposed to be regular felony probation. It was automatically enhanced without my knowledge or my attorney's knowledge to community control sex offender GPS monitoring. I went to the location that they told me I had to check into. I checked into it, and then they advised me that I had to go to another location over by the Orlando International Airport. The next morning while driving toward the Orlando International Airport, I stopped at Starbucks to get coffee. And that was subsequently what violated my probation within the 3 days of me being put on that probation, because on the way to that location, I stopped at Starbucks.
Okay. And
I understand that I wasn't supposed to do that.
Okay. According to his affidavit, you were instructed on the conditions of community control on February 20th by Officer Jennifer Beal. And it did involve wearing a GPS monitoring. So I'm not sure how you wouldn't know you weren't on ankle monitoring if it was on your ankle.
Right. When I went to the office over here off of Old Winter Garden in John Young, she didn't know what was going on. She advised me that I needed to wear the ankle monitor, that I had been enhanced, and she was not exactly, what's the word I'm looking for? She didn't know exactly how or why, but I was to meet Officer Klingenberg the next day. So on the way home, I went home. The next morning, on the way to the location, I drove through the Starbucks drive-thru and picked up coffee on the way to the location. And that's what violated my probation.
But this happened 3 times. It was on the 20th, on the 21st, and the 23rd. It was 3 times that you left your residence without communicating. So your testimony today is that the probation officer who was to advise you of community control didn't tell you had to wear a monitor and didn't tell you that you were in home confinement.
No, we weren't advised. I wasn't advised that until I went to the location at John Young and Old Winter Garden. They then advised me that the regular felony probation that I had been sentenced to was automatically enhanced. And even she didn't understand how that was. She said that Officer Klingenberg would have to explain that to me. But she did put the monitor on me and told me to go home.
Let's go back to the 2005 CF 394. This was the probation that you were on for the underlying lewd and lascivious. There is an affidavit here that, and I'm going back to my question again about the document. This didn't have to do with your trip to Lebanon. This has to do with a trip to Cecil Field. And you gave a document to a probation officer that you were to take your wife for an immigration check. And when they checked, there was no such thing as a Cecil Field immigration check. And when they asked the Homeland Security personnel to review the document you gave her, it was a non-existent document, or dates and locations had been altered. Do you not remember that?
That is correct.
Okay, that's fine. I don't need an explanation.
In Jacksonville, and we go. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Non-responsive, Your Honor. Objection.
I beg pardon?
That's fine. I was objecting to non-responsive. I was asking him to stop for a moment. I just wanted to know if you remembered that one.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
With all due respect, sir, you had asked me if I had...
Hold on just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not appropriate. Your attorney can
I'm sorry.
ask further
I apologize.
questions.
Mr. Dewitte, have you ever cut off a GPS monitor?
No, sir.
Have you ever failed to appear for a probationary meeting knowing that there may be a warrant for your arrest?
No, sir.
Have you come to court knowing that there could be a warrant for your arrest?
Yes, sir.
Will you continue to come to court should the judge grant you bond in these cases?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And in fact, the last 3 warrants, I self-surrendered the last 3 times except for this one here.
Okay. And this one here is because you were in custody on the bond revocation when they served you with the...
That is correct.
I have no further questions, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any... let's get him back to his seat, please.
I don't have any witnesses, Your Honor.
Does the state have anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. The state will call Corporal John Ramsey to the stand.
Mr. Dewitte could sit at counsel table if he'd like with his attorney.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I stand here? I don't want to disconnect this. As long as you believe me, I'll pick me up.
Yes.
I'll speak loud. Good morning, sir. Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Yes, sir. It's Corporal John Ramsey, R-A-M-S-E-Y. First name's J-O-H-N.
Thank you, Corporal. Could you please advise the board of how long you've been with and what agency you work for?
Currently with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I've been there for, I think, approximately 21 years, and I had worked for the Sanford Police Department before that.
Do you have any other prior military experience?
I do. I am prior Marine Corps, I'm prior Army, and I'm retired from the Army.
And what's your affiliation with Mr. Dewitte in the cases? I think you're aware he has about 10 cases here in Orange County. What's your familiarity with him and the investigation?
I've been working different cases with Mr. Dewitte since probably 2014. And the current cases that he has present, myself and another supervisor from the motor section put those cases together at the direction of our captain at the time.
What brought your attention to Mr. Dewitte originally in 2014?
I was working an off-duty job at the arena downtown when I witnessed his unit or his motorcycles go by with lights and horns going off, doing some type of an escort. I actually stopped one of the vehicles, and that particular vehicle had 2 different tags attached to it, one over the top of the other. As a result of my dealings with that individual, I wound up writing him tickets. And after that, I was contacted by my lieutenant at the time to inquire as to what the deal was with these individuals, and then we, I guess you could say, started like a small task force, and we started working cases for his behavior, his actions.
Okay. Did you ever speak with Mr. Dewitte during this time in the early stages of the investigation about what was going on?
I did. As a matter of fact, in 2015, I made contact with him. I was out working in the Sector 1 in Motors. We heard a vehicle going by with the air horn going off so much that we actually thought somebody had stolen a police vehicle. So when we went looking, two of the guys that worked for me got there before I did. They had stopped Mr. Dewitte prior to me making it there. And then I arrived and had a long conversation with Mr. Dewitte. He was issued a couple of tickets. I know he said he's issued like 25 or 30, but he was issued a couple of tickets from the deputy that worked for me. During that time, I explained to him what he should and should not be doing and how he was violating the law. And he actually recorded this because he filed a complaint with the sheriff's office and turned those videos over to the sheriff's office.
And at this point, you weren't investigating him for impersonating officers. Was it really just about the funeral escorts?
We were investigating him for impersonating a police officer. We met with several staff members here from the courts, whether it be the head judges for the traffic division, the state attorney, and we were actually putting together a game plan on how to address it properly.
Did you, in your conversation with Mr. Dewitte, did you explain to him that it was the position of Orange County Sheriff's Office that he cannot violate traffic ordinances the way that you were observing?
Correct. I told him that he could not be directing traffic, getting off his motorcycle, standing in intersections, telling people what they could and could not do in intersections, whether they could turn or not. He could not take all the lanes of the roadway like that. Basically, I explained the funeral escort is like a train. It moves as one, it stays as one. You can't move out of that. He contests that because there is a word in the statute that says facilitate, that means that he can do all these extra things that he does with the funeral. During that conversation, it was quite a long conversation, and he was told multiple times. At one point, he told me, well, I met with my lawyer and I met with your senior staff, or whoever he said he met with, and then they said we can do this. Are you saying that they were wrong? I told him then, and it's on his video, that if they're telling you you can violate the law and the law is clear, then yes, they are incorrect.
Okay. Are you aware of anybody with Orange County Sheriff or any other law enforcement agency who has ever said that he can violate traffic laws in facilitating these escorts?
No.
Okay. Did the conduct of the escorts ever change after your discussion with him?
They did.
I mean, did he correct it?
No, they progressively got worse.
It got worse.
It's like he became emboldened and they got worse.
Okay. So, what are your concerns that you could tell the court about the way these escorts are conducted as they would pose a danger to the public?
So we have multiple incidents where he's had traffic accidents, where he has stopped people, pulled people over, beat on their cars, screamed at them, walked up to the vehicle with his hand on a weapon that he wears on his side, like a duty belt that you would see with a law enforcement officer. And in such a threatening manner that we've actually charged some of the charges he is facing is exactly for that.
Okay.
As well as, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again just to make sure?
No, that was it. Just the general concerns about the public safety and the way that he conducts these escorts.
Correct, yes. So, and we are still receiving complaints from the public that he's still doing these type of, or even though he has been locked up for the last month or so, his employees are still out there doing the same thing. They're out there doing these same type of escorts where they're calling in, the public's calling in complaining.
Yes.
Corporal Ramsey, I'm showing you as part of the state's need for identification. Do you recognize what it is?
Yes, it's a memory stick. with today's date on it, and it is written videos.
And can you explain to the court, so you've used these videos before?
Yes, sir.
And where did you acquire the videos originally?
We've received those videos either from Mr. Dewitte's body cam, his helmet cam that he had when he was arrested by Windermere, and or through a search warrant when we served a search warrant on his office and took possession of his computer.
So these are videos that came from his camera.
Yes, sir. They've either come from his...
I'm sorry, and they form the basis for some of the charges that we have here and maybe some of the ones that we don't?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the videos that you watched, are they in the same format that you viewed them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any alterations made to them in terms of editing and like adding things or subtracting things?
No, sir.
Some files full clips?
No, they were shortened.
Okay.
Just
So sorry, but the court reporters cannot hear Mr. Moore.
Oh, I'll come in. Sorry. Some of the files are not complete?
correct. They were shortened for the purpose of not wasting the court's time on the entire length of something of him just sitting still somewhere.
Okay. Otherwise, these are fair and accurate representations of the videos you observed after your warrant seizure and the investigations that led to the subsequent arrest of Mr. Dewitte?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, the state would move to enter State B and two others as State 1.
Your Honor, we would object to the entry of these videos. It sounds like they have been edited and modified. This is not the records custodian of the videos, and I don't believe that there has been any proffer of a video to me prior to today for me to be able to review them to determine whether there's a way for me to stipulate to it or whether there's issues with it that we need to raise in addition to what I want to say.
Okay, so that's a jumbled mix of legal arguments. I think it's a foundational objection and possibly a hearsay objection, although I don't believe this is hearsay, and we don't have to have a records custodian if it's not hearsay. So foundationally, it's a fair and accurate depiction of what happened in an edited manner. If they're going to play an edited version, I think under the rule of completeness, you could ask that the entire version be played. But I do believe he's laid the proper foundation for entry of something that's essentially photographic in nature.
Yes, Your Honor, it is a foundational argument. I don't know what's missing. And so from a perspective standpoint, Your Honor's only going to receive what they've chosen to provide.
Right. And I think that under the law of the rule of completeness, you're entitled to request that the state play the whole thing. Because if you don't know how it's been edited, then you can't be more specific than that. And that's what the law requires. So I would sustain that objection.
And I can play the full clip if that's what he wants.
It's not a matter of what he wants. It's a matter of what the law requires. He's made an objection under the rule of completeness. I don't think that his foundational objection has merit. It's also not a hearsay objection. That has no merit. But he has, even though it was never said particularly artfully, he does have the right to object to the state editing portions of a thing, here a video, and playing only those edited portions.
And as I said, Your Honor, I have some that are full clips that are not edited.
Okay, then I sustain the objection, so do what you're going to do. Okay,
and there are some clips, I'll just have to put on the record, I won't, this is merely for the honors review at a bond hearing. This is not trial, but these edits are just simply excerpts from 45-minute long videos. I have no problem playing them all.
This is an adversarial proceeding, and it really isn't comforting for the state to say, don't worry, this is just an idea for you to get a vision of what happened. It doesn't matter what this is. The rules of evidence apply. That's a legitimate objection.
Okay.
So do what you will. I think in the meantime, I'm going to take about a 5-minute recess for you to get set up, and then we will resume.
All rise.
Well, we'll go back to order.
All right, you may be seated. One more thing for purposes of the record. Mr. Ledan, did you say you had not seen these edited excerpts previously?
That's correct.
Okay, so that is a Richardson violation objection, I expect, that you had not been provided with these in discovery prior to trial. And, we can go down that path as well. I mean, skipping ahead a little bit, it seems to the court that if you have not been provided those, and it's not disputed that you have not been provided those, knowing that they were going to be used at this hearing, I won't make a ruling on whether that's a willful violation or not, but my sense is that it's probably prejudicial to the defense because it removes from the defense the opportunity to argue that these are misleading because you haven't seen them. So if we need to make that analysis, I can do that as well.
I don't know what's missing, Your Honor, and my concern for today's purposes is I don't know how to remedy that absence, raising the objection and asking that the videos not be permitted.
Okay, but you have seen the full videos, or have you not?
I don't know which videos these are. There are a lot of videos in Mr. Dewitte's cases.
Okay, let's not go here then. So videos have been provided to you. Mr. Moore, if you would get near a microphone, please. Have you provided the unedited version of these videos to Mr. Ledan?
Yes, Your Honor, and I sent an email to him a couple weeks ago just asking him to make sure that he would tell me if he thought anything was missing. I had not heard back.
Okay. The question was, now listen to the question. Have you provided the unedited versions to Mr. Ledan?
Yes. My understanding is that these were all disclosed prior to I had the case. The answer is yes.
So let me see if I can make this any clearer for the third time. Did you provide the unedited versions to Mr. Ledan?
A previous ASA did, I believe, yes.
Okay. That's not terribly comforting when you say, comma, I believe. But getting past that for a moment, did you provide the edited versions to Mr. Ledan?
These right here, no. As far as just taking excerpts, no.
Okay. So those were not provided. So that's a Richardson violation. Do you want to be heard on whether that was willful or inadvertent?
I believe it was inadvertent, Your Honor. I'm not trying to go through that process right now.
Okay, so are you withdrawing your Richardson objection?
No, Your Honor. I just want to note it for the record.
Well, if you're stipulating that it was inadvertent, then it's not then
I don't believe Mr. Moore is playing hide the ball with me. I simply did not have an opportunity to prepare to see these videos and determine what was edited so that I could make the appropriate argument.
Well, that puts the court in a difficult position, because if you're unwilling to say that it was willful, but you're asking the court to find a Richardson violation. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So you're not stipulating that it was inadvertent, but you're not taking a position either way. Is that correct?
I think that's a fair statement.
Okay, so why didn't you provide these edited versions to Mr. Ledan?
Because there's nothing altered other than just the excerpt from a full clip. So these also, Your Honor, these videos have been posted on the internet for years now at this point. They're publicly available. The testimony is that...
the edited versions are?
I mean, edited meaning just a clip?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if a video is 45 minutes long and I'm just taking from minute 5 to 10, I guess you can call that edited, but it's just taking one clip from a full file. There's nothing being added to it or subtracted from it.
But see, you have to tell the other side that you're doing that. Because all your promises that you're not doing anything that is sneaky or misleading is just not good enough. You have to provide to the other side, I'm going to read pages X through Y of the deposition transcript to the court, so that the other side can be prepared to determine whether Z should also be read to put that in context. Now just substitute out video with deposition and you have exactly the same thing. You have to tell him in advance, I'm going to play minutes 5 through 10. So he can look at minute 4 and minute 11 and determine whether what you're playing is misleading. He gets to do that. That's the rule of completeness. I'm not making this stuff up as we go along. Just trying to apply the law here. So I'm going to find that this was not inadvertent. And the question of prejudice, I will hear from the state on that, but for the reasons previously stated, which are that the defense cannot be prepared to make an objection, a full and reasoned objection on the rule of completeness until the defense knows what is being played. So if you want to be heard about why that's not prejudicial, go ahead.
Mr. Ledan, my understanding is he has all of these full clips. I don't think it's prejudicial in the sense that I think he's watched all of these before. If he believes there's something prejudicial, he can let me know. But I've already agreed, if Your Honor doesn't want to play any excerpts, that's fine. But I do have at least 3 videos that are just the full clips that I believe would have been disclosed, and I'm fine doing that. I'm also fine if I have the full clips, and if he believes something's prejudicial, it's here for the court if it finds it.
Okay, that is not a well taken explanation of why it's not prejudicial. It's been explained to the court that there are many, many videos, and to expect that Mr. Ledan on the fly could say, oh, on this particular video, you should have played this as well, is simply not reasonable. So the court would find a Richardson violation, and for that reason also these excerpted portions will not be played to the court. If you want to play something in its entire, then you can attempt to do that. Once again, you're saying, I believe these have been provided is of some concern, but if Mr. Ledan in good faith thinks he hasn't been shown something or given something specific, then I expect he'll make that objection. So go ahead and play what you need to play. Could you have the witness identify what this is? I know it's videos, but if you could say when it was taken and where, that is probably appropriate.
Corporal Ramsey, are you familiar with this video from the beginning clip?
Yes, I am.
Do you remember the incident that this is from and where the video came from?
Yes, I do. This, would you let me explain?
Yes, please.
All right. So this particular video, back during October of 2019, Mr. Dewitte provided this to us, and he said it was his body cam from this particular incident with the Deputy Mahoney, an off-duty deputy that he had interaction with and currently has charges for.
Is this a clip from Mr. Dewitte's body cam?
Yes, it is.
And he brought this to your office?
Correct.
Okay, this is the full clip that was brought to you?
Without seeing it, but yes, this, from what we saw earlier, yes.
Okay. Just to reiterate, these are video clips from Mr. Dewitte's camera?
Correct.
Context, this one is a clip. I think a lot of people refer to this one as the blue car incident. Are you familiar with it?
I am.
Okay. And this is the full clip, as your understanding, was taken from Jeremy Dewitte's body camera.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And for purposes of, and this, so from beginning to end, this is the clip that came from the camera?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And for purposes of publishing, Your Honor, I'm going to skip to the portions that I had as excerpted, and I will leave it to Mr. Ledan if he wants to play previous portions since he has seen this.
In a blue car. Get the light spot, please.
timing-wise.
Mhm.
Mr. Moore wants to proffer to the court what the purpose of these videos is.
Well, that's not the road. Okay. Well, I don't know if that's an objection. I'm ready to come back at 1:30.
Okay. I've got it here for an initial appearance at the Orange County Jail at 1 o'clock, Your Honor. So
Oh, okay.
I don't think playing these clips will take that much longer.
Okay,
I'll
so
stand down.
just stand down.
Corporal Ramsey, is that just a basic example of some scenes that you might see in the entire 45-minute clip or 35-minute clip of these venal processions?
Yes, sir. As well as him directing people over, pulling people over, and then actually having interaction with them as well.
Okay. And then is it fair to say is this the point where he is blocking a through lane in an intersection while the procession goes by?
Correct. Which he has, even under the funeral statute, he does not have the right to do that.
And is your understanding that are these other Metro State vehicles that are passing him?
Yes, they are. And unless you're watching the full video, you would think it's a police car coming up based on the sirens, and they aren't.
I'll continue.
And a fucking silver Mustang just got in. You better figure it out! Are we losing? We just... Hold on. You better, out of my funeral, out of my funeral. You over there.
One more clip from this. There's certainly more we could play.
I got people cutting to the funeral home along restricted. Don't do it. I had a guy just cut across, motor went through it. I don't know what the last is, and it's all cut off. Not safe, better, not to do it, dumb fuck. Get the fuck over before you find out.
Talk to your police officer.
Listen, motherfucker, I know what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do. What you need to do is figure it the fuck out before you start talking shit and cutting us off. Go ahead and pull your little phone out, do your little Google search and figure out what we're doing and what we need to do. Good. Then back off and give us room.
I'm not interfering with you at all.
You are. By running along.
You've been blocking traffic.
Yeah, I need you to stay to the side, sir. That's what the legal law is. Go back and look it up. 316. Good. Call it. Please. 911 right now. Go ahead. Call the 911 right now. Tell them it's on video too. Let them know all those are on video. They also have your tag number. So please let me know.
That's all I'm playing from that one, Your Honor. There's only one more. This is the other full clip that was again received from Mr. Dewitte's records at Metro State. They have these full clips. They had these clips before the state.
Where does he want to go now? Run out of gas. Traffic still moving now? Hey. Make sure you honk in and use that siren. You got movers on the left. Movers on the left. They got to breathe.
Your Honor, I'll stop there on these. There are other examples that I will. And as I said, the clips before, they come from his camera. They've had these files since before.
We don't need that. It's already been played. We don't need that.
And I'm sorry, I do the files that I played. File 0048 that says Seminole County, that's the last one we just watched. That would be admitted. These full clips are admitted, Your Honor. But
well, have you given them to Madam Clerk?
Well, they're on this. This is the disc.
So that's a no?
Yeah, I give her for identification.
Okay. But you're moving those into evidence now. But
just these files and the others that are the excerpted ones are not admitted.
Okay. Are the ones that you played and the ones you want in evidence on the disc in Madam Clerk's hand?
Well, I just need to read the file names that we played. for the record.
But, well, I can't admit anything I can't admit the entire disc because it has things on it for which the court sustained an objection. So,
if I may just make a separate thumb drive or disc with those three, if I just have, a little time to do that.
okay, well, I expect we're going to be back at 1:30, so sure.
Okay. And for now, I'll just get back to
Well, that's just for ID, so yeah, that's fine.
Could you still state on the record what those numbers are so I can document them?
Yes. Well, I'll when I introduce the one that we introduced for evidence, I'll just name those files.
Could I just ask a question before we go further? The defendant, Mr. Dewitte, had a lewd and lascivious molestation or battery in his past.
Lewd and lascivious.
Okay, maybe it doesn't make a difference, but there's no VOP pending, right?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
I do have those documents over later.
That's okay. I just wondered. I wondered if there was a VOP somewhere.
No.
Okay.
Now, Corporal Ramsey, those clips, what are the time frames, the years that those occurred in?
Those particular clips, I believe, are between 2018 and 2019.
So this is 3-4 years after you've had a talk with him about that kind of funeral escort?
Correct.
Did those videos demonstrate how the escorts had escalated in terms of their aggressiveness?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you testified earlier you still receive complaints from people about these escorts?
Correct.
As recently as this year?
Correct. As recently as in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
And let me clarify, in the last 2 weeks, I received a call from our individual who works in our traffic office stating that people were calling in complaining about them and what should she do. I told her at this point just document them.
And so at this point, these escorts continue despite what you would relate to Mr. Dewitte. Does that go into what your concerns were as far as the dangerousness of him continuing to do this?
That's just part of it, but yes. Some of it's some of his comments that he has made as well.
Can you speak generally about, or specifically about, let me get to the microphone, I'm sorry. So the conduct of the escorts is something you would consider to be dangerous to the public. What other dangers do you believe that he poses to the public, and why?
Well, one, we have a bulletin reference to Mr. Dewitte making statements that he was going to come into...
That's the hearsay.
It's the same.
It's a bond hearing, Your Honor. It's admissible.
Oh, sorry. You want to be heard on that?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the officer testifying about the bulletin.
Right, but Mr. Moore is reminding the court that hearsay is admissible in bond hearings.
If it was direct hearsay, Your Honor, I understand, but this is hearsay upon hearsay. It's not. It's a compoundment of that hearsay.
Okay, the court vacates its prior ruling and will overrule the objection. Go ahead.
You may continue.
All right, so I believe it's October 16th of 2019. I interviewed Jennifer, I believe it's Martin.
Jennifer Burton?
Burton.
And let me just stop. Was she here today testifying?
I believe I saw her outside, yes.
Okay. And continue?
All right, so during that interview that she requested with us, we were not seeking her out. She had told me in that interview that Jeremy Dewitte was threatening to commit suicide by cop by coming into the sheriff's office and shooting it up until he was shot. And after that, I met with my captain, who then met with our intel people, who, based on the information that we were receiving then, a second bulletin was put out. There was a first one put out by the city of Orlando, I think through the FBI. But the second one with the Orange County Sheriff's Office was put out as a result of my contact with Jennifer. We've also had other individuals who are witnesses in this case contact us to state that Mr. Dewitte has shown interest in purchasing an unregistered vehicle so he could run Sergeant Vidler or myself over on a traffic stop and not be caught.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
We're going to have to, I have a meeting at noon that I have to get ready for briefly. So we're going to adjourn until 1:30, and we'll just wait for you, Mr. Ledan, until you get here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, very good.
I'll find coverage for the 1:30, but I don't know that.
If you can, that's fine, or we'll wait for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? Court is in.
All rise.